Almost a half-century after the end of the war in Vietnam, Jim Garcia has traveled to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall to honor those who fought and died in the conflict.
I think about the soldiers and sailors I've served with in the past and how that could have been my teammates.
Garcia's father was a Marine who served 2 tours in the Vietnam War. The conflict cost more than 58,000 American lives, most of them memorialized here in Washington, D.C. U.S. President Donald Trump avoided military service during Vietnam, citing bone spurs, something he's been heavily criticized for. But as Trump heads to the Vietnamese capital of Hanoi to meet North Korean leader Kim Jong Un for the second face-to-face summit, the country will serve as an example of how old foes can become friends. From the 1950s through to the early 1970s, the United States sent its men to fight in Vietnam.
A generation later, in 1994, Bill Clinton, another U.S. president who avoided military service, lifted a trade embargo on this communist country, completely changing Vietnam's relationship with the United States. Since then, the Vietnamese economy has boomed.
The U.S. is now one of Vietnam's biggest trading partners. Like Vietnam after the war, the U.S. and North Korea have no formal diplomatic or economic ties.
We think that North Korea and Chairman Kim have a tremendous potential as an economic force.
As the U.S. tries to convince Pyongyang to abandon its nuclear weapons program, some analysts say Kim should look to Vietnam as an example of what's possible.
It's really quite remarkable, and it is a reminder to Kim Jong Un that we, the United States, are capable of moving beyond previously adversarial relationships.
Like Vietnam, North Korea can learn much about transforming its economy despite U.S. efforts to isolate it. It's one of the so-called carrots Trump is dangling as a means of negotiating peace. But the challenge may be convincing the North Korean leader a deal isn't a sign of surrender. Kimberly, Halkett, Al Jazeera, Hanoi.